Welcome to the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast.
It's your birthday today, Craig. It's your birthday today, Craig.
So a big happy birthday to Craig Kelly. And we originally planned to have the whole thing done for Craig's birthday today, but we still got a lot of work to do, more people to interview, and a whole lot of editing. So we made a teaser edit with some of the stuff you've already heard from Palmer, Gooch, Dave Downing, if you've listened to every episode of the podcast. Plus some never-before-heard footage from Peter Line, Jamie Lynn, Jeff Fulton, and Sean Sullivan, as well as Kelly Jo, Craig's first wife, Brad Stewart, who was running Sims when Craig left, Judge Ferris, who adjudicated the Sims versus Burton case that resulted from Craig leaving Sims back in like 88. And before we roll the tape, I'd like to thank everyone involved in helping us get this going, especially Gillian, Craig's sister, who among other things has shared this story from her mom about Craig as a baby. Now, as most of you would know, Craig's unique style included riding with his knees together. And so this is a forwarded message from Craig's mom. Craig was very bow-legged as a baby from birth. Orthopedic doctor had him wear a steel bar anytime he slept, naps, and at night, and special shoes were attached to force his legs to correct the bow so he would not have to have surgery or be an extremely bowed adult. He was so talented, he learned how to swing that bar over the railing on his baby bed and walk with his feet attached to this bar. Once I checked on him while he was napping and found him hanging upside down when he caught the bar and a shoe on the railing and got stuck. I think this was all a precursor to his becoming a great snowboarder. Little smiley face there. Big thanks to Craig's mom for sharing that. Yeah, let's get on to the show. Again, it's just a teaser with some clips that we have put together for this special occasion, Craig's birthday. Enjoy.
First place, riding for Burton Snowboards out of Seattle, Washington, Craig Kelly, also sponsored by Oakley.
It was like the Craig Kelly McDonald's board with no base graphics on it. Like, whoa, that was Craig Kelly.
We were definite rivals. I mean, I had complete respect for him because he trained so hard and took it serious. But I did my time off like natural talent and just partying and skateboarding and shit. He was like training for it.
Today I just said I got to go for it no matter what. I'm going to go for the win. Whatever I come up with, I come up with. So at the top and the gate, I was just thinking I'm going to go all out. It's either crash or go as fast as I can, totally push the limits. And I think I pushed my limit about as far as I could.
Oh, 0.14. Way to be, bro. You're driving faster, wasn't it?
But I mean, he won a lot, you know. I respect him, but at the same time, we definitely had a serious rival. He didn't care for me that much, is what I hear. We were all good. We'd have beers and shit together, but it's just like we weren't tight or something. You know what I mean?
I called home, talked to my sister. Somebody didn't see the contest, and they say, how'd you do? And I'd say, I got second. They go, oh, bummer, that's too bad. But for me, it's great, you know, being the top three anytime.
You know, Craig always said, you know, try to imagine yourself a ball being rolled from the top and see where that ball goes down the mountain, and then try to emulate that line. Kind of opened up my eyes to truly trying to understand adapting yourself to going downhill in the snow and doing it as fluid as possible with the least amount of resistance and maximum amount of speed.
If Tom Sims owned Sims,
Yeah.
I don't think he ever would have left. Craig's like, dude, I'm down. Like, if I can talk, that's why he loved Jake, because he could talk to Jake. He could call him on the phone and go, dude, this boat sucks, dude.
But the whole circumstance of how that relationship was managed, unfortunately, probably does fall on Tom's shoulders. And losing Craig Kelly definitely got Dorfman's attention.
It seems, when I went back to read it, that Kelly was quite a well, he was a star of sorts, and I think the suit was more about trying to punish him than it was about the issues.
He found there had been contractual interference. He also found that the contract was, not worth the paper it was written on. I was going to say, we were killing them at that time. They were not even, from my perspective in the office, they were like a punchline. And that kind of rose out of just watching their team in speed suits and just their approach. You know, we just kind of were like, what the hell is that? And we just kind of looked at them as very driven out of the ski culture, which makes sense, you know, and snowboarding's always going to have a link to the ski culture, and that's not a bad thing at all. But at that time, when we're basically all kids and our mentality is West Coast, snowboarding is skateboarding on the snow, it was just a radically different thing. So, you know, yeah, I mean, Craig was infinitely more valuable to Burton in the sense that I had, call it, 4 other guys queued up.
Craig Kelly, he taught me about business. He taught me about teams and how to deal with sponsorships and things like that. And now I write contracts.
What Burton didn't count on was, so one of the deals was, so you got whatever for a little picture, whatever for a half page, whatever for a cover, whatever for a back. What Burton got nailed on, and we always joke about this, so contest footage. So Craig would sit there, and I think for every 10 seconds that you could read the bottom of the board, you know, you could read Burton, he got a certain amount of money. He would literally take footage, and if it was like one error, he'd be all, okay, 1 second. He'd go through, and you know, that's just the kind of mind, you know, he's like, I'm getting fucking paid for this shit.
When I came on the team, and I was really impressionable, you know, like Craig was someone I looked up to and had the most respect for, you know. And ended up being able to have these opportunities to do trips with him and like get to know him, and you know, he would invite me up to come and stay at his house and Snowboard Baker, you know, he would have Terry and come up, and, you know, just like these wide-eyed kids running around and trying to stay out of trouble, you know, like really just, you know, he shared so much, you know, with us. And for me personally, you know, like I grew up without a father, and I always looked at him like a father figure, you know. He was really someone that I had, you know, so much respect for, and just like would give me good advice, and you know, he shared with me these experiences in the mountain that just kind of shaped my path for what I want to do with my snowboarding, you know, like it really set, you know, the inspiration to move to a place like Jackson Hole to get to know the mountains and learn about it and grow as a rider and have the freedom of, you know, having the knowledge to have freedom in the mountains and go, you know, make decisions for myself and explore terrain and do it right, you know. And like, you know, he was a huge, you know, like this is number one, you know, inspiration in snowboarding for me.
Craig kind of, you know, helped me figure out what to be well-rounded, you know, like he was being well-rounded in his career by being a racer and a half-pipe guy and a free rider and all these different aspects of his career. It was funny, he was such a hard worker, but he would always be like, hey, we're not taking at least 3 free runs a day, we're just faking it. I remember him saying that all the time.
It's like you and your best friend, that comes first, man. Craig and I were, aside from snowboarding, we were buddies. I mean, when he went through his divorce, he cried on my shoulders. When I went through my divorce, I cried on his shoulders. Here's where Craig and I, even more than snowboarding, had a connection. Hardcore rock and roll, heavy metal rock and roll, right? So I moved into this fraternity, didn't know a soul, and I figured, watch this, man. I'm going to find out who has the guts to come meet the new guy. Put on my turntable, Judas Priest, hell-bent for leather, and open the door to the hallway and crank it. Let's see who comes and tells me to shut this off. And the first guy to walk in was Craig. And he walks in and says, hey, dude, I heard the priest. Welcome. You're Kruger, the dude that got hit by the drunk driver, aren't you? Hey, I'm having a party, a little gathering up in my room later on. Come on up. A couple hours later, went up to Craig's room. This is 1984, right? Places that do allowed snowboarding. Mount Bachelor hadn't ever seen a snowboard. I had seen a Mountain Dew commercial, but I had never been on a snowboard, right? Walked into Craig's room, and there's like 5 or 6 snowboards leaning against the wall. And I'm, what the fuck? Who are you? And sitting on a table in his room, this is before there were any real snowboard mags, there's a powder magazine sitting on the counter, and Craig's on the cover, snowboarding on it. And it says, snowboarding, is it a fad or the new beginning? And he goes, oh, I like to snowboard just a little bit. Just a little bit? Holy shit. That evening, he said, hey, class will start next Monday. Your background at Mount Bachelor, 20 years of skiing, and you're like a crazy guy. Right on one of my extra boards. Let's skip the very first day of college classes. Let's take 2 days to climb Mount Rainier and snowboard down from the summit on the Nisqually Glacier. Come with me. And I said, hell yeah. So I skipped my very first day of college, climbed Mount Rainier with Craig, took 2 days, and we snowboarded down the Nisqually Glacier. It's the first time I was ever on a board.
And there was just no way getting around it. Like when he rode, people stopped and watched. You know, he was poetry in motion. You know, that's all there's to it.
In my estimation, had gathered probably the most important lesson in life, is that everyone's important. Everyone deserves to be treated kindly and with respect. And also to do what we love and love what we do. He personified that in his riding, and I think that he was probably a really good rider because he was just present with what he was doing. To watch him ride was a message from the divine.
Well, it's funny because he had this board that for some reason the tail of the board he drilled a big hole in it just to see what it would do, you know? So then we called him for a while, we called him the Holy One. Because he was kind of like, you know, he was the guy that didn't smoke the weed, so he was the Holy One.
There was something about Craig. He didn't have to say anything particular. He didn't have to do anything particular. Just being in his presence, you knew you were a better man. I knew I was a better guy. My heart was lifted up. My self-esteem was stronger. My character was more intact. Just being in Craig's presence. There was something magically weird about his energy. Every time I was around him, I felt like a better man. That is why he was one of my best buddies.
Special thanks to Jeff Kruger and Ken Wiley, you heard at the end there. The music at the beginning and the little clips of Craig were from the Burton movie Chill. And Judas Priest Hellbent for Leather is in here, obviously. Thanks for listening to the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast, brought to you by BR Productions.